Our next presenter is Daniel Levington with Why Teaching is Undervalued.
Teaching is easy. Imagine being able to wake up a few minutes early, 7:30, and be home by 3. Only 7 hours of work. All you have to do is read the same PowerPoint to some kids. Furthermore, you have no work during the summer, plus 2 weeks of paid built-in vacation time. You're going to work less than 50% of the year. In fact, this job will be so easy that you don't even have to show up. Call in sick and a substitute will be there to replace you, teaching the lesson that the state made for you in advance. However, when I dove into the world of teaching, interviewing a variety of teachers, I found that not only is this fever dream a lie, but teaching has many immense challenges. They work incredibly hard to give your kids the best education possible, and yet society does not value it at all. We all have a favorite teacher, the one that just sticks with you forever. You were always excited to walk into their classroom, waiting for the amazing lesson that was sure to unfold. They not only helped you connect to their subject, but with themselves on a deeper level. I've had a few teachers like this, who have truly helped me broaden my horizons, across topics I would have never thought to explore otherwise. What kind of middle school student gets excited to learn about meiosis and mitosis, or DNA replication, or the expansion of the United States? Apparently, me, all because of teachers. Teachers have been so influential in my life that now I would like to continue that wonderful tradition and become a teacher myself. So I started by interviewing different teachers. What I found is that teaching has many different challenges. The teachers agreed that their greatest challenges came during the planning stage, creating, tailoring, and individualizing lessons for individual classes. They also struggled to create lessons that connect to the students, bringing the lesson closer to home. Even through the summer, they're working on lessons. And yet, they don't get paid for any of this overtime work. The teachers say that people tend to focus on their time off, when in reality, they're constantly attending meetings, forming plans for class, and balancing the separate influences of administration, parents, students, other teachers, and the broader, more general public. When hearing the difficulties of teachers, you have to ask why. If teaching is so difficult, why would anyone want to become a teacher? The answer is that they truly love watching students progress throughout the year. The point of teaching for most is not to make money, but rather to guide students through the process of learning. It's just like any other profession in which you're growing a team. In this case, a team of curious kids. And teachers love watching their students thrive and connect ideas, what some would call an aha moment. The appeal of teaching is to help students find their passion, in and out of the classroom. But this is not a clear answer. As the teachers agreed, they could have never imagined many of the difficulties of teaching back when they were kids. So when one of the teachers offered to let me teach a class, I pounced on the opportunity. I figured that I should try and experience what being a teacher is like, especially after hearing all this. I quickly found that I wasn't just teaching the class. I would have to create my own presentation, my own notes, my own assignments, and I would have to grade those assignments. It was truly an eye-opening experience, being a teacher for the first time. Firstly, the planning needed beforehand was much more time-consuming than I had ever imagined. Creating an assignment that took the students just 20 minutes to complete took me hours. Grading 20 assignments also took multiple hours. In addition, to compound these difficulties for real teachers, none of this work can be done during school hours, so all those breaks don't look so long, do they? And all this work I did excludes tailoring for 5 individual classes and balancing the separate influences of parents, students, and administration that real teachers face. However, I did see some of the positives that teachers see. These came in the form of those aha moments I mentioned earlier. Watching the moment when the students finally understood the lesson was incredibly rewarding. The result of all my effort came to a single point where my effort met reward. And yet, the preparation needed beforehand was still immense compared to the small reward. The challenges of actually teaching involve presenting to a room of judgy 11-year-olds. Before I walked into class, I gave myself a bit of a pep talk, reminding myself that I prepared for this moment. And yet when I walked in, it all went away. The intimidation I experienced in that moment was unmatched by any presentation, essay, or test I have ever taken. This may have been due to me being a new teacher, but when I walked into class, it felt like they were looking me up and down, figuring out who I was. I didn't want to be a mean or strict teacher, but I also wanted them to understand the lesson that I worked so hard to convey. That in itself was a challenge, as connecting an idea such as figurative language to their daily lives was difficult. Unfortunately, according to teachers, all this secret behind-the-scenes work often goes unnoticed. 80 to 100% of teachers, according to numerous surveys, felt that their work was undervalued, unappreciated, or unrecognized. The reason for this negativity towards teachers is shocking. It's a cycle that begins when teachers face the brunt of public criticism, rather than the government. This is why teaching is often seen as an undesirable job. This criticism and undesirability leads to fewer teachers. In the newspaper, The Morning Call, Tanya Garcia of the Department of Education spoke about how there's been a 66% drop in teachers in just the last decade. This means that states have to lower requirements in order to fill classrooms, as politicians want a quick boost of teachers in order to win over voters. For example, just a few months ago, on November 20th, Governor Murphy instituted a law removing the requirement for teachers to pass a basic skills test. This creates teachers who are not adequately prepared for their jobs, who are then blamed for public concerns, and the cycle continues. However, the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development's Teaching and Learning International Survey, found that only 2 nations have broken the cycle, creating high-quality, respected education. These 2 nations are Finland and Singapore. And since Finland is much more than a single city, I decided to dive into their education system, where I found that they have combated the teacher shortage in the opposite way of the United States. Their standards for teachers are much higher than anywhere else in the world. Some teachers begin training as early as the age of 13. All teachers require a master's degree and must become a student teacher first. Even after all of that, only 7% of applicants to teaching jobs in Helsinki are accepted. These high standards will lead to fewer teachers in the short term in the United States, as fewer people can apply, but in the long term, the cycle reverses, creating teachers who are high quality and respected, creating more quality teachers. Truly, the way out of this crisis, reversing teachers' underappreciation, is to raise standards. Though this is painful in the short term, which is why politicians won't make this change, it is better for your children's future. Now, this is where most people would urge you to vote for a specific political ideology or candidate. However, I accept that a scrawny 12-year-old will not change your political opinion. Therefore, the best way to support your teachers is by showing your appreciation. It doesn't have to be an expensive gift. It could just be a thoughtful card. For example, last year, I remembered a wonderful lesson that was taught to me on the principles of Buddhism by my social studies teacher. It was about how, according to Buddhists, you cannot suffer if you do not have desires. He connected this to us by telling us about a toy he wanted as a kid, the Dino Riders Diplodocus playset. He begged his mom for this toy, and when Christmas came around, there was a huge box on their tray. He was so excited to open it, but when he did, it was filled with socks. But in this, I saw an opportunity. I wrapped up a gift, wrote a heartfelt note, and on the last day of school, I gave it to him. He read the note, opened up the box, and what he saw was a Dino Riders Diplodocus playset. For $20, I not only made his day, but I proved that I paid attention to his lessons. The gift was so meaningful to him that he still has it in his office to this day. You are now part of an unfortunately small minority, those who know what teaching is truly like. So, what I urge you to do is think about your teachers and realize that those who do everything for your children deserve the same respect that other professions receive. Always remember that appreciation is the greatest gift you can ever give. Thank you.